Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something I think a lot of us have felt but maybe couldn't quite put a name to. It's this idea of algorithmic hypnosis, and we're going to dive into how it works on one of the biggest apps on the planet.
Yeah, you know the feeling. You're just scrolling and suddenly you snap out of it, and a huge chunk of time is just gone. If that sounds familiar, then you know exactly what we're talking about. And trust me, you are not alone. Okay, so here's our game plan for today. We're going to start by defining what this TikTok trance even is. Then, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the design that makes it so hypnotic and what's literally happening inside your brain. We'll also touch on the big debate around this kind of tech, and then, the important part, we'll finish up with some real, practical ways you can break the spell and start scrolling on your own terms.
All right, first up, let's actually give this thing a name. That feeling of lost time, of being totally zoned in. What do we call it?
So, this term algorithmic hypnosis, it sounds a bit sci-fi, right? But it actually nails that feeling of being almost involuntarily glued to your screen. And look, it's not some kind of magic. It's a very specific state created by an incredibly powerful system that's been designed from the ground up to capture and hold on to your attention. So, how does this actually happen? Is it just by chance? Nope. This hypnotic state is carefully engineered. It's a combination of a super smart algorithm and some very, very deliberate design choices. It all kicks off with this super personal feedback loop. See, the algorithm doesn't just see what you like or share. It learns from the tiniest things, like how many seconds you watch a video before swiping, or if you watch it more than once. And it learns fast, constantly tweaking your For You page to serve up the exact stuff that'll keep you watching.
And then, on top of that smart algorithm, you've got these design tricks that just pour gasoline on the fire. Think about it. There's no end to the feed. It's an infinite scroll. The next video starts playing automatically, so you don't even have to make a choice. Each video is super short, so you think, just one more. And the whole thing is full screen, so all other distractions just melt away. It's brilliant, really.
Okay, so we've talked about the design. Now let's get into the really fascinating part. What's going on inside your head when you're deep in one of these scrolling sessions? Let's talk about the brain science.
You know, it's funny, but the feed is basically a digital slot machine. It gives you this totally unpredictable mix of videos. A couple are just okay, maybe another one is kind of meh, but then, boom, you get a video that makes you laugh out loud. That's what psychologists call a variable reward, and it's the exact same principle that makes slot machines so addictive. You just keep pulling the lever, or in this case swiping, hoping that the next one's going to be a winner.
And this whole thing creates this powerful biological cycle in your brain. When you land on that great video, your brain gives you a little hit of dopamine. That's the feel-good chemical. Naturally, that feels good, so you want another hit. And what's the easiest way to get one? You just keep scrolling, chasing that next little reward.
So you've got these constant, tiny dopamine hits combined with super fast content switching, and that can actually put your brain into what's known as a flow state. It's a state where your sense of self kind of fades into the background, you stop noticing your own thoughts, and your perception of time gets totally warped. And boom, just like that, an hour's gone, and you barely even noticed it pass.
Okay, but let's be fair. Is this incredibly powerful technology inherently a bad thing? Well, as you can probably guess, it's a bit more complicated than a simple yes or no. There are some really strong arguments on both sides. On one hand, you have some really valid concerns, about what this does to our attention spans, our mental health, not to mention data privacy. But on the other side of the coin, people argue that, hey, these tactics aren't new. YouTube and Instagram do similar things. And they point out that these platforms have also been amazing for democratizing content, letting new creators get discovered, and building genuine communities. It really is a double-edged sword.
Okay, this is the part we've all been waiting for. If you feel like you're losing the battle against the scroll, how do you actually fight back? How do you take back some of that control?
So here's your toolkit, 5 concrete things you can start doing right now. You can go into your phone settings and set a hard time limit. You can use the tools that are built right into the app. You could also just make up your own little rules, like, okay, after I see 3 cat videos, I'm done. Even just consciously noticing when you've slipped into that mindless scroll is a huge first step. And don't forget to use that not interested button. It's a powerful way to train the algorithm.
All right, let's zoom out for a second and think about the big picture here. Because this isn't just about you versus your phone, it's about understanding the system you're in. This is probably the most important thing to get. If you find it hard to put your phone down, it is not a personal failing. It is not because you lack willpower. You are going up against platforms built by teams of incredibly smart people whose entire job is to figure out how to keep you engaged for as long as possible.
Just understanding that fact, that it's all by design, is the first step to empowering yourself.
So, I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Are you the one doing the scrolling, or is the algorithm scrolling you? Just thinking about that difference is the key, really. It's what can shift you from being a passive user who gets pulled along to a conscious one who decides how and when to engage. It's all about choosing how you spend your most valuable asset, your time and your attention.